I'm your 2024 president for Sonoma County Alliance. It feels good to be back. I feel like I haven't been here for a couple months. I know I haven't been here for a couple months. We have a fantastic and exciting program today. We have DA, District Attorney Carla Rodriguez, and District Attorney Investigator John Kemp to talk about Prop 36, the effects on the county, and the effects they're feeling within the roles they have. With that, I'd like to do a couple quick announcements. Thank you, Don Mills and Alejandro from Sound Ideas for filming today's event. If you want to go back onto our website, you can always review the conversations that are had today. A shout out to Kude Brewery, which is an award-winning beer from Don. As we go through our guest introductions, please provide a business card, and you have a chance to win a beautiful six-pack of his beer. I'd like to thank our sustaining members for your help and your support. We have a number of committees within this organization. It's all volunteers. If you're a new member, please join a committee, reach out to Ty. Your voice is important, your opinions are important, your approach is important to the future of our organization.
Are we going to do the pledge?
We're going to jump over that, Chuck.
What?
Not today.
Okay.
So we're mixing it up on you. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. Now you threw me off. So one of the first things Sonoma County Alliance did within this community is support the Warm Springs Dam. And if you notice, that has been on the news for quite a while, the last couple of weeks. It's an anniversary of the dam. We are a huge proponent for that. We hope to get organized and built, and it's something that we're very proud of. We are a business advocacy group, and for us, it's important to make sure we're doing the right things for the community and the local business. So with that, I'm looking for Ty, and she ran out of the room. There you go. Hey, Ty. I'm gonna pass it off to Ty.
Oh. We have traction maybe. All right. Good morning. I'm going to try to talk loud so you guys can hear me. Thanks for being here. I know it's a long weekend that we just had and everyone's probably a little groggy, so thanks for taking the time to be here. We're excited to have you. We've got a great program today. We also have a few upcoming events you're going to want to mark your calendars for. We got October 2nd. We have Supervisor Gore coming to talk about the water supply challenges. And then our November 6th, we'll have Ryan Sobel come in to talk about the election. So make sure to put those on the calendar. And as Paul mentioned, we're 50 years old, starting 2025, and we're taking inventory. We're looking at our impact, and we need your help. So if you're a member, you're considering being a member, you've been a member in the past, then be sure to take our survey. It's online on our website. There is also a QR code on the screen. Good luck. But be sure to take that. We want to hear your voice. We're going to keep it open through the end of the year to get as much as we can. So please go take that. And then as we look for that, we need to continue to get more voices at the table. The more voices we get, the more voices that will help us shape the next 50 years for Sonoma County Alliance. So if you're not a member, please consider joining. If you know people who would be interested, thanks for bringing them and continue to do that. We want to make sure that we're building an organization that suits everyone. And as always, we have Q&A on the table. So you'll see a pen, you'll see some QR or some what are they called? Cue cards? You'll see those. Write your questions down and we will come by and grab them during the presentation and at the end so we can make sure to get them all answered timely. And with that, I want everyone to stand up as we walk to your table and we're going to do self-introduction. So just your name and your business. And so we'll start over here.
Good morning, Samantha Rodriguez, Executive Director of the Great Deer Labor Center. Excuse me. And Mayor Emeritus of Roanoke Park, and also DA Rodriguez's sister.
Good morning, my name is Anna Tabayo. I'm Damon Connolly's field representative in Sonoma County. And I also introduced myself as Carlos Meehan.
All right.
I have no relation to Carla. My name's Paul, known as Exchange Bank.
Good morning, Kathy Goodacre with Career Technical Education Foundation.
Good morning, Ken Lanky, architect.
Good morning, Mick Menendez, Pacific Advisors.
My name is Tony Corman. I'd like to introduce my guest, Pierre Rotte from the Open Space District.
Good morning, I'm John Kemp, DA investigator with GMM.
Carla Rodriguez, the evil lord of Anna, and sister of Samantha, and district attorney.
Good morning, my name is Danielle Nelson. I'm general manager with Santa Rosa Plaza Shopping Center.
Mark Hale with Carlisle Macy.
Hello, Lisa Carino, United Way of Wine Country.
Good morning, Howard Dalton, with the Advisory Board of Exchange Bank, and do a few other things. I have a guest this morning, also Kevin Bender. Kevin is the Chief Banking Officer for Exchange Bank.
Good morning, Dick Dowd, retired and currently co-chair of the Water Supply Committee.
Artie Dexter, Leduc Dexter and Super Service Plumbing.
Jeff Harrison, Sonoma County Resource Recovery, the garbage company in Windsor.
Brian Lang, real estate broker and treasurer of SCA.
Ross Liscombe, real estate broker, Century 21, and I'd like to introduce Assembly Member Damon Connolly.
John Regan, Santa Rosa Chief of Police.
Hey everyone, Damon Connolly, Assembly Member, Sonoma and Marin Counties. Pleasure to serve you. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Greg Hurd with BKF Engineers.
Tony Spisman, 707 Promotions.
Ron Edwards, Hillsborough City Council.
Adam Gasta, farmer rancher from the Ukiah area, Mendocino County. I also sit on most inland water boards, Redwood Valley County Water District as board president, Ukiah Valley Water Authority, and Ukiah Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
Nick Caston, business strategist, financial prodigy.
Good morning, Gerard Judice, Vice Mayor, City Runner Park, and Sally Tomatoes.
Pete Leskier, Leskier Engineers.
Good morning, Heather Thurber, real estate broker, Redwood Empire Realty.
Alana Whitehead, Boys and Girls Club of Sonoma Marin.
Tracy Russo, Hogan Services.
Good morning, Gary Lentz, Loan Depot Home Mortgage.
Roy Martinez, Exit Strategy Group.
Joe Gaffney, St. Vincent de Paul.
Jen Colini, Leap Solutions, a division of George Peterson Insurance.
Rob Sanville, KLH Consulting.
Good morning, Lori Rooney, North Bay Biz Magazine. Rosie Padilla, North Bay Biz Magazine.
Brian Bucksbaum, Next One Staffing.
Zuko, CFA Central.
Jeff Rude, Double Eagle Financial.
Ramsey Brown, Exchange Bank.
Don Mills, Conveyor Brewery.
Justin Hunter, Holly Construction.
Jack Byrne, Navigate Inc.
Rick Carlisle, BKF Engineers.
Carly Rodriguez, Mid-State Construction.
Marlene Soyland, Soyland Management.
Good morning, William Zolder, BC Engineering Group.
Good morning, Kim O'Day, Fidelity National Title.
Ryan Kelly, WSI Smart Marketing, your Vice President of this organization.
Jason Lee, Roseland University Park Principal.
Brian Barrett, New York Life, and Eagle Strategies.
Brandon Jewell, Career Technical Education Foundation.
Scott Warmer, Leap Solutions, a division of George Peterson Insurance.
Trish Griffiths with Personnel Perspective.
Marcelo Agnes with BEC Engineering Group.
Steve Click, Power Associates. Scott Kincaid, Facility Development Company, and Sonoma County Alliance Political Action Committee Chairman.
Kelly Back, Exchange Bank.
Good morning. The Alliance is pleased to have as our guests Mark Salavanoff, Real Estate Asset Manager, and we have Amanda Ryan with Ballerine Sellers, who also sits on the board for the Sonoma County Children's Museum. And she's offering up a bottle of her 2019 Pinot Noir, scored a 95 on the Wine Enthusiast. Watching these people here. And I'm Ryan Stiles, Real Estate and Yacht Sales at England Volkers.
Good morning, Madeline Keegan O'Connell, YWCA, Sonoma County. Good morning, Janet Connors, Summit State Bank, and my guest this morning is Crystal Humphrey, Branch Manager for Buffett.
Good morning, Teresa Scott with Western Health Advantage.
All right. Hey, Marlene. No cheating, just one. Oh. She driving it?
Yeah.
You bringing that wine for a donation?
Yes.
Amanda? Yeah? We'll pull two then. All right, there's one. That's two. All right. We got it. All right, we got two winners. All right, whoever can run the fastest. Thank you for donating a bottle of wine to a raffle winner.
Right in the morning.
I love it. I'm sure they'll pop it open. I'll take business cards you have one. Perfect. Oh, okay. All right, so whoever can run the fastest gets to pick what they get first. We've got two winners. I have more hands. There you go. Read that.
Kevin Bender.
And Pierre. So we've got wine. All right. Gotta make sure you go visit them. Congratulations, look at that.
That's good beer.
That's good beer. All right. So let's get to the program here. I want to bring up to the stage, please join me in welcoming District Attorney Heather Rodriguez.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I want to be clear that I'm not here to tell you how to vote in November. I'm here to just explain what the issues are. I may come across as biased, but just ignore any bias or sarcasm that comes out of my mouth, okay? And Damon, I apologize ahead of time. So there's two big issues that we are seeing in California. One is the retail theft. We've all seen it in the news. The smash and grabs, the swarms of people going into stores and stealing everything and running out, the Walgreens shutting down in San Francisco, businesses shuttering. It's rampant, it's really bad, and so I'm kind of just here to explain a county level prosecutor's point of view of how I think we got here. And then also the opioid use and the related overdoses that we see are devastating Sonoma County, devastating California, devastating the nation. So Prop 36, the goal is to address those two issues. How we got here, so I've been a lawyer for 28 years. I started in the DA's office in '97. I've seen the trends, the drugs up and down. When I started, poly class had been abducted. Richard Allen Davis had been sentenced to death and the 3 strikes law passed. And it was a very tough on crime era. Lots of laws were passed that made prison sentences very, very long. And as a result, the prisons were overcrowded. By 2011, the prisons were designed to hold 85,000 people. There were 156,000 people in those prisons. A disproportionate number of those people were black or brown, and something had to give. And so a lawsuit was filed, and the federal court ordered the state of California to reduce its prison population to 137% capacity. So with that order, our state legislature had to figure out some solutions. So starting in about 2011, they started passing laws. We had initiatives to reduce the prison population to comply with that order. Next we have, and so criminal justice reform has been going on nonstop since 2011, before 2011. But every year I'm shocked at some of the laws that are passed that are designed to reduce sentences, but also take away the finality in any case. I can't tell any victim now that your case is over because a law is going to change and their conviction will get undone. Richard Allen Davis was up for appeal this year. He lost. But we just can't tell a victim that your case is ever done. We had the pandemic, which was devastating criminally because we had an emergency bail schedule. So the California justices ordered that all non-serious crimes have 0 bail during the course of the pandemic. I basically spent all of Easter weekend in 2020 going through everyone in our jail to see who we could release safely without posing a risk to public safety. And 0 bail continued after the pandemic ended. So people who were arrested for theft, people who were arrested for drugs, they would get arrested, they'd get 0 bail, they'd get released. I literally remember reading a police report where a man had stolen from Kohl's, and I was reading the report, I watched the body-worn camera. He's telling the police officer, well, it's 0 bail, so I'm going to get out, and I'm going to go right back to Kohl's and steal when I get out. And sure enough, he did. But the police waited for him, so that was good. 0 bail is interesting. But the result is little to no consequence for theft and drugs. AB 109 was a huge law that passed in 2011 directly in response to the Supreme Court order that the jail population get reduced. Basically, when I started, if you stole from a store, if you went to Walgreens and stole whatever, you could get charged with burglary, which is a felony, and you could go to prison for 3 years. That didn't happen a lot, unless you had like 10 priors and 2 robberies in your record. But that was the potential, okay, prison. Same for drugs. If you possessed drugs, sold drugs, if you were a drug dealer, you potentially were looking at prison. Prison is scary. People don't like to go to prison, right? It was a deterrent. But AB 109 created a new concept called local prison. So for 500 felonies, including burglary, drug dealing, you name it, all property crimes, auto theft, you would now go to local prison. And what does local prison mean? Jail. So no longer were drug dealers looking at prison, they're looking at jail. And on top of that, the law allowed for a built-in period of parole. So you go to jail, local prison, which is the jail. Our poor sheriff is now running the largest prison in Sonoma County, but with a built-in period of parole. So you could literally be serving part of that 3 years on parole in Starbucks. So I call that Starbucks prison. That's what AB 109 created. So if you're a drug dealer, you could be serving your prison sentence while ordering a latte at Starbucks. So basically with that, no more deterrent effect also for drug dealers and repeat themes. Prop 47, everyone's saying that Prop 36 is a Prop 47 reform. That's kind of true, but it's also addressing all of these laws that have been passed over the last 15, 20 years. It created the misdemeanor crime of shoplifting. So if you went into Walgreens and stole, and it was under a $950 value, not only were you not looking at real prison anymore, but you were only looking at a misdemeanor. We could no longer charge burglary for anyone that went into a store and stole something, okay? It's a 6-month misdemeanor, you get half-time credit automatically, so basically the most you'll ever do for stealing is 90 days in county jail, okay? So what we started seeing, and the data will show this, is that people started stealing under $950. And we see it now today, over and over and over again. Going to Home Depot, stealing $800 worth of goods. Going to Walmart, stealing $750 worth of goods. This is where that came from. And let me be clear, people who break the law know exactly what the law, they know what the laws are, and they know what they can get away with. And that's just, it's just a matter of fact. They know what their credits are, they know where they're gonna serve their time, they know when they're gonna get released. They know what the laws are better than a lot of lawyers, so. In terms of drugs, the first unintended consequence of this was drug use became rampant. Prop 47 also not decriminalized, it reduced possession of heroin, cocaine, meth, all the hard drugs, made that also a misdemeanor. So people who were possessing drugs used to be looking at prison time. Would we send people to prison? No, sometimes we would, but a lot of times no. We have a lot of drug treatment programs at that time that we were sending people to. But really, there is no motivation to get clean. There really isn't. My investigator remember 20 years ago, you'd be looking for people, and you see people with drugs, and you'd arrest them, they'd stay in jail, and they might be looking at a lengthy jail sentence. But with other laws that have passed, we cannot send people to jail for drug possession until they've done 2 courses of drug treatment. Really no incentive for people to not use drugs. We also started seeing an increase in deaths in California. This isn't just because of AB 109 or Prop 47 or the laws that prohibit us from sending people to jail for simple drug possession. Fentanyl entered society. Fentanyl is cheap. It's easy to make. You mix it in a bathtub. All you need is chemicals. It's much less expensive than heroin. It's 50 times more powerful than heroin. It's a very, very addictive and attractive drug. Pills, people started using pills more. So we started seeing more overdose deaths. And as you can see from the chart, I started the timeline at 2014, which is when Prop 47 passed. And by 2022, we more than doubled overdose deaths in California. There's a racial disparity with the deaths too. In California, that tallest bar there are Native American, Alaska Natives who disproportionately are dying from overdose deaths. The second largest group, Black African Americans, disproportionately dying from overdose deaths. And after that, white, Hispanic, Asian Pacific. For Sonoma County, our stats are similar. We had a sharp rise in overdose deaths just after the pandemic. Our local population who is disproportionately dying from overdose deaths is the Black African American population. The numbers are staggering, it's heartbreaking, and it's just terrifying. You know, as a parent, it's terrifying for me, constantly lecturing my kids to not take any pills, to not do any drugs. Every time I open my mouth, they say, "We know, Mom, don't talk about it again." But it's just terrifying. When I started talking about fentanyl, at that time the DOJ said that 4 out of every 10 counterfeit pills had a lethal dose of fentanyl. Now they're saying 7 out of 10 counterfeit pills have a lethal dose of fentanyl. The second unintended consequence from all of this reform is retail theft again. So there's this group called the Public Policy Institute of California. They're statisticians and data analysts. They're credible. And about 7 years ago, they started tracking theft data post Prop 47 to see if these claims that Prop 47 led to all this retail theft was true. They only rely on arrests. So there's a fundamental flaw with their data, which they acknowledge, which is a lot of store owners who are victims to theft don't report it. I mean, it's not worth it to them. If you own a convenience store, you've got 10 people in there who have stolen a candy bar, you're not gonna call the police every time. So with that in mind, with that caveat, the data, they collected data for California, and it definitely spiked in 2014 after Prop 47 passed, and then it dropped. But as you see, now that we're in 2022, 2023, the data's still coming in for 2023. The numbers are sharply rising again, and we've surpassed pre-Prop 14 levels in terms of commercial burglary and shoplifting. They also looked at post-pandemic theft, and this graph basically just shows how after the pandemic, our larger counties saw a huge spike in theft. I called Magnus Lofstrom, who did this project, because he's a genius, and I said, hey, why don't you do the smaller counties like Sonoma County, or help me do my own chart? And I spent about an hour or two trying to make my own chart and gave up, and I called him, I said, please do my chart. So Magnus did my chart. This is Sonoma County. We're very similar. Spike after Prop 47 passed, it dropped, and the numbers are going up again. The numbers for shoplifting, which is theft under $950, is going up very sharply, and then commercial burglary, which is stealing more than $950, is dropping. So we're seeing a lot more of the, and John will talk about this, my investigator will talk about this, we're seeing a lot more of the individuals going into stores and stealing, and just making sure it was under that felony level so that they're only looking at a misdemeanor, which once again is 90 days in jail, if that. So Prop 36, this is what it does. Prop 36 was supported by DAs, most DAs around the state, save a handful of progressive DAs. Understand their reasoning. Supported by Home Depot, Walmart, Target, all those big stores that are getting hammered by all the theft in California have put in a ton of money. It addresses fentanyl, and it addresses retail theft. It addresses the lack of consequence that exists right now for possessing drugs, selling drugs. It addresses the lack of consequence that exists right now for repeat thieves. As it relates to drugs, it creates a treatment mandated felony. It only addresses what they're calling hard drugs. So fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, cocaine-based, methamphetamine, PCP. It specifically does not apply to psilocybin, which are mushrooms, marijuana, and some other drugs that are not considered hard drugs. So before, the law right now is if you possess a ton of cocaine, a kilo of cocaine, you're looking at a weight enhancement. So if you have a large amount of drugs, it adds 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, depending on how much drugs you have. But right now, all of that is local prison. So if you have a kilo of cocaine, you're looking at 3 years plus 3 years, so 6 years in local prison. Once again, with a built-in period of parole. So you're looking at jail time with half-time credit and possibly Starbucks prison. So maybe, let's say 4 years in jail, which is actually 2 years plus 2 years Starbucks prison. So that's what a drug dealer with a kilo of cocaine currently would be looking at as an example. So under Prop 36, you're looking at state prison if you have more than a kilo or more than an ounce of fentanyl, depending on the drug. So that's one law from AB 1019 that's getting rolled back to looking at prison. If you are personally armed with a firearm and have one of these hard drugs, you're looking at prison. If you possess one of these hard drugs and you get convicted and then you reoffend and then you get convicted twice, you can be charged with this treatment mandated felony. And at that point, if you have 2 prior convictions, you could be looking at prison. But what the law says is that we have to give someone, we give them a treatment course. We determine what would be best to help this person with their drug addiction. And we hire someone to do an analysis of the person who's in court possessing drugs and try to come up with a treatment course. So there's off-ramps to prison. We want people to do treatment, and right now they're simply not motivated or mandated to do treatment. In regards to retail theft, it brings back the idea that if you commit multiple thefts, you could be looking at a felony. So no longer can you start picking up convictions for theft over and over and over again and still be looking at a misdemeanor every time. We see people with 10, 12, 15 theft convictions right now, and we can't charge a felony like we could 20 years ago because of the law. So it brings back petty theft with priors, a second conviction of petty theft with priors. You're looking at state prison again. The law encourages us to do diversion. We have theft diversion program here in Sonoma County. The law encourages anything but prison, but it's an option. And I think it's something that our thieves need to be aware of, that they could be looking at prison if they continue to steal. So, Damon, can you plug your ears? So, many of our locally elected lawmakers oppose Prop 36. This summer has been fascinating in terms of the political maneuverings of our governor and some of our electeds who are so opposed to Prop 36. I still don't understand it. Clearly it's political, but they have been trying to undermine Prop 36, try to put poison pill language in their own countermeasure. So I'm just going to get into what our legislature came up with as an effort to counter, I'd say undermine Prop 36. So on August 16th, so a few weeks ago, Governor Newsom signed the California Retail Theft Reduction Act into law. Lots of publicity, lots of press releases. I think he signed it at a Home Depot, which once again, Home Depot put about $1 million into Prop 36. But they're saying that the draconian district attorneys in California, I take it personally, are trying to take us back to the, I'm going to read the quote. While some try to take us back to ineffective and costly policies of the past, these new laws present a better way forward, making our communities safer and providing meaningful tools to help law enforcement arrest criminals and hold them accountable. So this retail theft package is 10 laws that they signed into legislation. They call it landmark legislation. These are the 10 laws. It looks really impressive. Damon, plug your ears. What do all these new laws do to deter retail theft and hold repeat thieves accountable? Very low. When Prop 47 was passed, it had a clause or language in Prop 47. This, once again, Prop 47 was a law that created shoplifting, the crime of misdemeanor shoplifting, and reduced a lot of felony drug possession and felony theft crimes to misdemeanors. The law had language that said the legislature cannot pass any law to increase penalties for any of these crimes that we are now making misdemeanors. The only way that you can undo Prop 47 is to have the voters decide another ballot initiative. So although our legislatures have a lot of power, they are prohibited by the language of Prop 47 in doing anything, passing any law that increases penalties in any way. So I'm going to go through the landmark legislation, and I say that very, very sarcastically, landmark legislation. AB 1802 is very inconsequential. It eliminates a sunset date for an existing organized retail theft law that's been on the books a few years. AB 1972 simply adds cargo theft to a list of crimes that the CHP task force can work on. They've been tasked with combating organized retail theft. AB 2943 basically says you can't file nuisance actions against retailers who report retail theft. Don't really understand that. AB 2943 extends the period of probation for misdemeanor shoplifting from 1 year to 2 years. That's great, but it's court probation. There's no probation officer. It really is meaningless. SB 1242 makes, if you commit an arson during an organized retail theft, the court consider that a factor in aggravation during felony sentencing. I don't know what movies the legislature's watching, like, I don't know, I haven't seen anyone use like a flamethrower to bring up to Walmart, but it's kind of cool. These are the more interesting ones. AB 1779, currently the Attorney General has jurisdiction to prosecute theft from multi-counties. So let's say a crime ring goes to the mall in Danville, and then goes to the mall in San Francisco, and it goes to the mall in Corte Madera. The AG has jurisdiction to prosecute all those inter-county thefts. We can now do that. DAs can get permission from other DAs to take their theft reports and consolidate it into one case. So that's helpful. The AG should be doing that. AB 1960 adds extra jail time for excessive loss. So it's similar to, this is also in Prop 36. If you commit a burglary and you cause $50,000 worth of damage because you and your 5 cohorts broke a bunch of display cases, it adds more time. But it's still, once again, local prison. It's jail time. So it's not prison time. It's just more time in jail, subject to half-time credits and Starbucks parole. So we have AB 2943. This is the meatiest of the laws that were passed. It allows us to aggregate theft from other counties. We can already aggregate crimes right now, which is what John will talk about. If we know that someone stole from Walmart on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, stole 300, 400, 500, we could charge them with a felony and stack all those crimes. So their new crime package allows us to do that statewide. AB 3209 permits a court to issue a criminal protective order at the time of sentencing. This maybe should be on the first list of not very helpful because we already asked for stay-away orders when we sentence people for theft. SB 1144 has requirements for online marketplaces. If people sell in California suspected stolen goods, the online retailer can be charged civilly. Will that deter thieves? No. SB 905 creates the new crime of forcible vehicle entry and possession of stolen property. I want to point out that for all these crimes, if you have insomnia, just call me and I'll explain this to you in more detail. But a lot of these crimes that they created are like impossible to prove. Like this forcible vehicle entry, you have to like prove that the person had intent to steal and then resell it, or like the SB 2943 creates this new crime of possession of stolen property from retail businesses with intent to sell or exchange them for value. Like, unless you have someone with a trench coat with like stolen watches in it, I don't know how you're gonna know what that person's intent is. I don't know how I would ever prove to a jury of 12 people and convince them beyond a reasonable doubt that someone possessed stolen property that was stolen from a retail business with intent to sell for value. I guess we have Home Depot, we have security tags. I guess there are some circumstances where that would work, but we have these crimes already. They've rewritten our current crimes of possession of stolen property and theft and made them harder to prove. So that's how I feel about the California retail theft package. It seems like a whole lot of nothing, honestly. Sorry, Damon. But Damon's not on that committee, right? So you're not involved. So arguments against Prop 36, and I hear this from all of our politicians. Like, go to any of their websites or their news releases or press conferences. They're bringing back the war on drugs. I think one of them said, let's roll the red carpet out to brown and black people, which was very offensive to me as a district attorney, really labeling DAs as racist and draconian. Fiscal impact, the prison overcrowding. The prisons are going to open up again and be full again like they were in 2011. So I just kind of want to go through all that. This graph shows the prison population. It was very high, and it shows the first orange line is when AB 109 passed, and we created local prison. We moved those 500 felonies to jail instead of prison. There's a sharp drop after that. The second line shows post-Prop 47. when Prop 47 passed, we had to re-sentence hundreds of people that had been convicted of felony theft, felony forgery, felony auto theft, felony drugs, and re-sentence them to misdemeanors. So that shows that drop. And then 2018, I think that they have that line there for Prop 57, which is when prisons are allowed to give as many credits as they want, and no one can ask them about it. So it just shows the decline in the prison population. Those legislative analysts looked at Prop 36. They think that it'll increase the prisons by several thousand. So we're at about 90,000 inmates, down from 156,000 in 2011. So it's about 0.5 of one, it's less than half, 1% of the state's total general budget to house these additional few thousand people in California. War on drugs. Let me go back. The war on drugs, basically, I'm going to go forward actually. We can't ever go back to the war on drugs because the laws have changed too much. It's never going to happen. You still are only looking at jail and not prison if you're a drug dealer. You're only looking at prison if you have a gun or you have excessive amounts of drugs. Once again, the 2000 ballot initiative, you can't go to jail, you can't be incarcerated for simple possession, for misdemeanors. That happened. Prop 36 will change that, but that's still part of a changed landscape. 3 strikes has been rewritten and changed since then. We, in 2012, greatly reformed 3 strikes, so it's no longer you steal a pack of gum and you have 2 prior strikes looking at prison. That law has changed. Prop 47 is largely unaffected by Prop 36. Repeat thieves are the only ones that are really going to be affected by Prop 36. They created legislature created mental health diversion in 2018, so anyone who's charged with any felony or any misdemeanor who says they have a mental health condition can ask the court for diversion. So basically everyone that's charged with a felony or misdemeanor says they have some kind of mental health condition. It doesn't need to be by a doctor, it doesn't need to be written down, and they can try to get their case diverted. And it's appropriate sometimes, it's not appropriate sometimes, and we have to fight that basically in every case we have now. 2021 created misdemeanor diversion, and in 2023, starting this January, we're now going to be doing what's called race blind charging. So we get about 13,000 to 14,000 police reports every year. We read them, we review them, we file about 70% of them, and we decided we're going to file criminal charges. Well, starting next year, we have to redact any reference to race. So people's names, people's address, people's nicknames, neighborhoods, anything that might allude to race has to be redacted from the police report before my attorneys can read it. So we're going to be utilizing AI technology from Harvard to redact all 14,000 police reports per year that we receive. My attorneys are going to have to read that report and make a final decision without any knowledge of the person's race, and then read it a second time to confirm or deny that initial filing decision. So the legislature, these are all just a handful of the many, many laws that have been put into place over the past 20 years to reduce implicit bias in prosecutors' charging decisions and to reduce implicit bias in how people of color are handled in the criminal justice system. I'd like to say that we're all acutely aware of the inequities that existed 20, 30 years ago, and we're all trying to work on that, but the legislature's adding these additional laws to make sure. So we just live in a different world. The war on drugs is not going to come back. And then less Prop 47 money. Prop 47 requires that a large amount of money that would have gone towards housing people in prison go back to local communities. There's a prison board that decides what to do with these hundreds of millions of dollars per year. I think about 100 million of that money went to LA County, and Sonoma County has only received $1 million since Prop 47 passed. So we're not getting any money, so for us that doesn't really matter. I'm comparing the 2 packages here in this slide. I won't go through it again. I do appreciate the legislators' retail theft package and expanding jurisdiction for us because we do see thieves that come from other counties to Sonoma County, and I want to be able to hold them accountable and not wait for the AG to do it. But Prop 36 does kind of have that stick that we need that's been missing for many years. We have that accountability, deterrent effect. Will we abuse it? No. As you're elected, we will not be abusing this. We don't want people going to prison. But I think for these repeat thieves that have made a living now, have been making a living, as John will explain, need to know that they could be going to prison if they continue to steal from our local stores. So that's how I feel about that. So John Kemp is my district attorney investigator. Our office received a $2 million grant under an organized retail theft grant. We hired John. We stole John from Roanoke Park. Sorry, Gerard. One of my favorite investigators from Roanoke Park, amazing sex crimes investigator. Now he's working for the DA's office. And him, along with an attorney who we hired from Santa Clara County, are tackling the organized retail theft problem in Sonoma County. And to be frank, no one has ever worked these cases. They've uncovered so much information, the theft, the crime rings, our store owners are dying. I mean, they're drowning in the crime. So I'll let John kind of talk about it. He has a slideshow, but I warned him ahead of time that I had like 30 slides that I was. So I'll just let John kind of describe what he's doing and the work what they're uncovering.
Good morning. Thank you for having me and having us. Deputy DA Quinn Nichols couldn't make it today because he's on a preliminary examination for a couple of retail thieves from a local large box store. So he apologizes for not being here, but he let me show him. So, as Carla mentioned, she applied for the grant, received it along with the City of Santa Rosa Police Department, and part of the grant allowed the office to hire an investigator and a deputy district attorney. We are the organized retail crime unit. That's it, the two of us. All we do is retail theft. With that said, we took it upon ourselves to really get out and meet community organizations and groups like yourselves, introduce the program, and also look at our major retailers and our smaller ones. We're finding that major box stores have organized retail crime investigators in their loss prevention department that cover large territories. They do nothing but this. The partnerships that we've developed and built, both large and small retail, have paid off in numerous ways in just a short amount of time. We've also started a property investigators meeting. Every month we get together with law enforcement and retail loss prevention to go over cases, to talk about what we're seeing, the trends we're seeing, and even yesterday, thanks Carmen, even yesterday during our meeting, some local investigators identified 2 individuals from some retail thefts that the store was not doing. So it is working. Carla asked me to talk a little bit about some successes that we're seeing, which I'm sure you're probably more interested in. So, one case that just was finalized happened to be an individual that was arrested for basically petty theft shoplifting at a major retailer. He had the case in our misdemeanor unit, and we took a look at it. He had 2 petty theft cases, and through the contacts we made, I reached out and turned 2 petty theft cases into an additional 35. And it seems odd, right? I did 20 years on the street as a police officer, both in Sacramento County and Sonoma. And I understand the mentality of the police officer on the street. They get a call for service, they go, it's a petty theft, they take the report, and that's it. What we're realizing is that they're not asking loss prevention, or loss prevention isn't providing that, yeah, we know this individual and they've hit us 15 additional times. With that additional information, with those additional crimes, we can then get the reports, get the video surveillance, and over a 12-month period, Carla talked about the $950 threshold, we can aggregate those thefts to get to that $950 mark. Now instead of a petty theft, we have a grand theft. We have a felony charge. And I'm an attorney, so I'm not going to speak like it, but that takes away diversion. We're looking at felonies. So this individual that had the additional 35, when had his discussion with his defense counsel immediately was like, all right, what do you offer? That case settled for a year jail, 2 years formal probation, and has to stay away from all stores of that retail establishment in the county. Cannot go back. Not a bad result from a misdemeanor petty theft to a felony charge. Another case, just being a curious investigator that I am, I'm like, all right, so what kind of problems do we have in the county? So I went out to a local flea market and just kind of nosed around. A couple of the vendors got my attention. So I did some investigation, and turns out that this one vendor liked to go to a local big box hardware store, steal from that store, petty theft events on multiple occasions, and then sell that product at the flea market. So tracked that individual for about a month. And when you think about like a drill bit, a socket, 2022. Fair enough to say, right? So organized retail theft talks about working in concert with another individual, but the program also allows us to deal with just the individual. So what that means is if we have somebody that's going inside and stealing, but they have a getaway driver, we don't have to identify the getaway driver. As long as they're in the car, we've got the vehicle, they worked with another person, that's organized retail theft. The individual that we see that goes in and does it, like I mentioned, we can aggregate. So it is, it's working well. I just had somebody that set fire to a Home Depot.
No.
Just got it, so it kind of goes with that, so that was kind of fun. Getting these cases reported. We have a real problem. We spoke to the City of Sonoma Retail Association last week, and those folks are going to be getting together. They're going to start a group chat to let themselves know, hey, this person just stole, and kind of get that organized. The Chief Cutting there with the Sheriff's Office, Chief of Police, was a huge help there. But even the small retailers are getting it, and it's over and over and over again. So we created a flag. I brought some. Feel free to grab some. I know, like Roanoke Park, we just reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, and they've got this electronic, and we can get it electronic to you. Down at the bottom is a QR code, and it lets individuals report these crimes directly to us. Now, like in Sonoma, we're realizing these crimes are being underreported. And so, how does that affect me and other investigators doing these jobs? If you don't report them, the small ones, and then we get like a $500 one, and then we can go back and aggregate that, now I've got the felony. Otherwise, all I have is the petty theft. Does that make sense? So, this QR code We'll bring you right to a fillable form. Some of the retailers have employees that's sometimes a little concerned, working late at night, want to report more anonymously. So that just gives us another potential lead to work off of. It doesn't supersede reporting to the police department, but it is something that different parts of the county are good with putting this in their window, putting it by their cash register. It just says this county is protected by Sonoma County's organized retail theft initiative. Got great feedback from Sonoma County. They want to create some kind of hanger, wall hanger, or window hanger or something. So, we are the consequence. Quinn and I are actively working several cases. The jurisdictional issue is very difficult. I'm currently working an individual that is doing let's just say a tool return theft scam from the Central Valley, Sacramento, all over Northern California. We're well over $200,000 in loss. In trying to prosecute, I've got 10 grand in Sonoma County. So the cross-jurisdictional issues are problematic. And then to go with the Attorney General, they're helpful. They'll take the case. They just want video surveillance for every single theft. So it causes some issues. Am I addressing everything, Carla?
Yes.
The program's working. Quinn and I are very dedicated to it. Quinn's an excellent prosecutor. Today, we just deal with a lot of, I would say, 2 or 3 people, individuals, a lot of high-end tool theft. And it's multiple times. It's really eye-opening to me how many retailers we don't talk. And so when you reach out to them, and then they research their records, and then they send the files in, how quickly we're aggregating these to felony cases. All right, I mean, if there's anything. There's a hole.
All right, wow, that was gonna work. All right, so since we have a smaller group today, we thought we'd just do live questions and pass the mic around. So we're gonna invite the DA, Carla, and John to the stage again, and we will pass the mic for questions.
In the last 2 years, my tire was slashed in my car while parked on the street in Petaluma. We had a photo of the guy doing it. The Petaluma PD said, one tire is a misdemeanor, all 4 is a felony. So the police did nothing. Also had a smash and grab in San Francisco. $2,000 to $3,000, my daughter's college computer, a lot of stuff was taken. The PD, San Francisco PD said, fill out an online report. And again, the police department did nothing. Is this going to change Proposition 36?
Well, maybe John should answer this, but I really do think, and Chief Cregan could confirm this, it's been very demoralizing. All these laws that have been reducing crimes to misdemeanors, it's very demoralizing for the police. The pandemic was very demoralizing because they arrest someone and then they get released. John is constantly complaining to the sheriff about how he won't incarcerate more misdemeanors who commit these crimes. So I feel like John and my role and Quinn's role is to re-moralize the police, to let them know that there will be a consequence, that they're taking the police report, taking the statement, filling out the paperwork will actually result in something that will deter or prevent that person from committing the crime again. So it's an uphill battle, but we're really trying to just say, look, we're gonna have results. And let me see if John.
Just this retail theft program going out, we met with every police agency and including probation. and letting them know what we're doing. And this type of prosecution wasn't happening. I'm not that far removed from working on the street, and Carla's right. I mean, the rank and file are like, what's the point? Why do it? They're just going to get out. We'll take the report. I'm called there, but they're not going to get prosecuted for anything. They're going to get diversion. We're here to change that now. And I think this retail theft program, from what I'm seeing Quinn doing, we're not giving diversion. We're actually going after felony and jail time. So it's a start.
Okay, this question comes from the data, Carla, that you presented. Do the statistics from Sonoma County thefts and shoplifting include data from small locally owned businesses or mainly the Home Depots and the larger businesses in the area?
The data is from whoever reports it. And I know from speaking to business owners in Roseland, in Windsor, in Healdsburg, a lot of people don't report it. So these are only reports that people actually bother to report it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for what you guys do. It's a thankless job, and we appreciate it. So, for what you guys work on, thank you. If the proposition passes, do you see your time commitments to the roles being underwhelmed, overwhelmed moving forward? If it doesn't pass, how are your resources and your time affected with your current workload? You know, what does that look like for you guys?
So the Legislative Analyst's Office issued a report, which you can find online. They predict increase in workloads because the idea is that felony cases take a lot longer to wind their way through the system, so there's even more court appearances, etc. But I'm not worried about it. Whether it's a misdemeanor or felony, I really don't think the work is going to multiply that much, and it's worth the extra work to have a felony instead of just recycling these misdemeanors in and out, in and out, in and out of the courtroom. So I would like to think that if the work does increase, it will be slight, and the result will be far outweigh the extra work.
Okay. So again, also thank you so much for all the work you do. My father was a deputy DA for many years here in Sonoma County during David Copenhaver.
Oh, hi, Erica.
No, I'm twin sister, Amanda. So she's also though an attorney here.
Nice to meet you.
County, yes. And we do look alike and sound alike. But I actually moved here 2 years ago from Yolo County, so I know Jeff Rice well, and am very much a proponent of what Kevin Kiley is trying to put forth as well on the ballot. But wanted to know, with Prop 47, I know we've covered a lot of the retail theft. Working for the Children's Museum of Sonoma County, having 3 children of my own, sex trafficking, child molestation, things like that are something huge that weighs upon me. Now, did Prop 47 also lessen those felonies as well?
No, Prop 47 was the 3 N's, non-violent, non-serious, non-sex. So it did not reduce, violent felonies have a legal definition, robbery, rape, murder, etc. Serious felonies are also identified clearly in the penal code, and then any sex crimes were not touched by Prop 47.
Okay, perfect. And then one other question. I've been following just Sacramento news. We used to live in Sacramento. We have small businesses there still right now. And Ashley Zavala, and she's very much a big journalist trying to cover a lot of this. But why is Governor Newsom a proponent of Proposition 47, and why is he trying to create these poison pills and trying to basically mitigate anything that's going to squash what Prop 47 did? Is it prison?
What she's talking about, hey Damon, can you just leave? No, I'm just kidding. So it's been fascinating. So Prop 36 got the signatures. It needed like 500,000 signatures to get on the ballot. It got like 900,000, I think like 600,000 signatures qualified. And then the legislatures created this retail theft package, and they put in this language that said, but if if Prop 36 passes, all of these laws will be nullified. So basically like a self-destruct clause. It was nefarious. And so, and then they got like Public Records Acts, getting all these nasty emails between the Prop 36 proponents and the legislative aides and this and that. Anna, were you part of that? Okay, good. So just like nasty business. And I don't know if it's politics. It's politics, but like I'm not sure really how Prop 36 will harm those at the state level, but I'm just a measly county level DA. Like I don't know what's happening in Sacramento, but I have to think it's politics or money. You know, maybe someone with a lot of money doesn't want Prop 36 to pass, but I can only speculate.
Hi guys, I've heard you speak before and talk about how the state wants to be out of the business of building prisons and managing prisons over time. Number one, do you see any prospect of that changing? And if the answer is no, it seems like clearly that 36 is going to increase the prison population by definition. What are your best deterrents to crime that are non-prison? Like, is there anything out there that you see that could be equivalent to it? It seems like you're kind of doing something that can't really be done.
So we have so many, so since the war on drugs and the prison overcrowding in the late 90s, many laws have passed that create diversion. So what diversion means is you get charged with a crime, you agree with the judge, you plead guilty, and the judge says, I'm going to divert you. You do some course of treatment or a program or some kind of probation, and then if you successfully complete diversion, your case is dismissed. The conviction is as if it never existed. So we have mental health diversion now, we have misdemeanor diversion now, we have veterans diversion, we have caregiver diversion, we have all these different types of diversion now that never existed before. And I've had defense attorneys tell me that they're ineffective, that they're not doing their jobs in every case that they don't file a request for mental health diversion. And they just get whatever diagnosis and then get the case diverted. So I think that will prevent a lot, and we want diversion. We don't want people going to prison. We don't want generational incarceration to harm families or communities. But I do think the voters are going to have to trust prosecutors to know when we need to be asking for prison. For this guy that's going all over California stealing $200,000, he probably needs to go to prison. So, or at least be threatened with prison. So I'm not saying that I want to send everyone to prison, not at all. I mean, not at all. I lay awake at night thinking about some of the people I sent to prison who might still be there, and I'm looking at all of our prison convictions to see if those people should still be there, because there's also a new law that allows me to resentence people if I want. But what I do want is for people to be afraid of prison and to know that it could happen. And I think that'll deter a lot of this repeat crime that we're seeing. And no, I don't think the governor wants to change his plans to reduce prison population. They're expensive. You know, the jury's out on whether or not prison actually reduces crime or increases crime. Hopefully the Public Policy Institute will have some data on that at some point that's really meaningful. But my whole goal is to have the threat of prison so that people think twice before they go into Home Depot and steal a drill.
Also, from working on the street, this program is relatively new. And as soon as the defense bar and the defendants start talking about that we're actually prosecuting these, or going back in their history and pulling all the cases, it's, like Carl mentioned earlier, they know the law, they know the crime. They're not quite yet educated up yet on this. So I believe we're going to see a drop in this within the year.
But this goes away if 36 passes, what you're using currently. Is that
No, Prop 36 can live, it coexists with the legislative package. I don't see any conflicts. David, do you know of any conflicts between Prop 36 and legislative? I'm sorry. I don't think there are any. And I've looked at them side by side. So all the laws can live in harmony with one another happily. Very happily.
On the retail theft thing, aggregation seems to be the key, and yet if I heard correctly, the officers on the beat, or, you know, that have to file the reports for petty theft and all this and that, are reluctant to do so because of the extra workload. I think that is correct. So is there anything going on to like encourage the officers on the beat to, hey, we got a simpler process for you. This is not going to overburden you, but just give us the data, please, so we can aggregate it.
Yes. To answer your question, we just created a loss prevention guide for loss prevention personnel and a patrol guide for patrol officers. And often it's not that they're lazy, it's that they don't understand the full ramification of doing that. And maybe in a certain department, that might be follow-up for a detective to do. Other smaller departments, they may have to do it themselves. But they don't necessarily know what Deputy DA Quinn Nichols needs for prosecution. So we created this patrol guide that has the questions to ask. And right there for both loss prevention and for the patrol officer is, are there prior losses? Do you have video surveillance? Do you have the reports available? Update those.
Thanks, guys, for your presentation and your service. I can't even imagine doing the work that you guys do and the obstacles that you're facing. Also a county employee at Ag and Open Space, but I noticed, we were talking about data, I noticed that the numbers that you showed in 2020 for commercial burglaries were like 2 times what they are now. Is that an underreporting artifact going on, or are we in an era of like actually less crime than before?
So shoplifting's are up, commercial burglary, which is theft of more than 950, is down. So according to Magnus Lofstrom, the genius at PPIC, he does think commercial burglaries, that's the trend, that commercial burglaries are down, petty theft is up. What he didn't track in the data is commercial robberies. He did look at Sonoma commercial robberies. That's when people go into a store and use force or fear. And that could either be 4 people in masks doing a smash and grab, or 1 person with a gun in a convenience store. He didn't track those. We don't have a lot of them in Sonoma County, so those are negligible, but those did go up in some other counties. So it just depends on what crime we're looking at. But I think the trend in Sonoma County is that it's these individuals going and stealing over and over and over again. That's what we're seeing more. Yeah. Samantha, yes, sister. Yeah.
What is or do you see any data, let me start over. So the Legislative Analyst's Office, the way it read to me, was that this could deter monies from mental health services, juvenile delinquency truancies, and a whole bunch of other things of, like dropout prevention and victim services. How do we see this, I guess, inundating juvenile cases? Because we usually see that these organized crimes will use juveniles because they know the law, as you said, and they'll say, well, you don't get as much time as we do. So do we see how that's, is there any kind of foresight on that? And I think—
Well, let me answer that first. You always do this to me.
I know, I'm sorry.
So, okay, to answer your first question, I'm not aware of juveniles being used as pawns in adult organized retail theft schemes. I see juveniles being used as pawns in gang-related assaults.
We do have some adults coming in with minors as a distraction. And so we are seeing some of it, but not as much as we just adults.
And then you're referring to so Prop 47, when it passed, said all the money that we're going to save from sending people to prison is going to go to local schools, truancy programs, mental health programs. And so hundreds of millions of dollars have gone out to counties. We've only gotten $1 million. Los Angeles got over $100 million. Contra Costa County, I think, $18 million. Marin, $12 million. I don't know who's not asking for that money, but we're not getting any in Sonoma County. I'm actually, after looking at that and doing the research, I'm going to find out how we can get a bigger piece of that pie. But I would love to have more money for juvenile youth programs. I mean, we have so many good programs here that ask for money that need it.
Okay, so what's the second part of your question?
If you could just tell us a little bit of what that wobbler looks like. It says that it's at the discretion of a judicial officer on what a wobbler is. So we're kind of having faith that they, although they're supposed to be unbiased, we're all human.
Yeah.
We tend to have biases.
So wobbler is when you have a felony that can be reduced to a misdemeanor. And for every felony that you charge as a wobbler, we have a preliminary hearing. And that's basically historically a hearing to say, hey judge, we're not holding this guy here, or this guy isn't being charged with a felony that's groundless and baseless and has no fact. It was like let's make sure we're not restricting people's liberty based on groundless charges hearing. At that hearing, we present a prima facie case, that's where Quinn is right now doing a preliminary hearing, and the judge can reduce the felony to misdemeanor if he thinks it's in the interest of justice, or she thinks it's in the interest of justice. And that's called the 17B motion. So all of these laws that are, the retail theft law that will now be a felony will be a wobbler, and the drug charges will be wobblers. So the judge basically has discretion to reduce these felonies to misdemeanor at the prelim. They can reduce them at sentencing. They cannot send people, the judge has basically the final say on what that person's sentence will be. So it's kind of out of the prosecutor's hands. We still have the filing discretion if that is a felony or misdemeanor, but there's additional safeguards put in place with our judges. And I think the proponents of Prop 36 wanted to really emphasize that because we DAs can't be trusted. Just kidding. Just kidding. That's what that means.
Hi, thank you for being here, both of you, and I've really enjoyed just hearing a little bit more about what's going on. But I'm curious how your justice partners are also seeing this in probation and public defender's office.
So public defender hates Prop 36, of course, and he's a great guy. Like, you know, we agree to disagree basically every day of the week. And probation also, I think she's worried. So probation, when AB 109 passed and they switched felony sentencing for 500 felonies from real prison to local prison to jail, those prison sentences, they're now supervised by probation officers. So probation gets a ton of money every year to be the new parole officers. So I think they're concerned that they're going to have more work. But, you know, I don't know. I think that the worst of the worst, we will be trying to send to prison, the worst of the worst, so let's say 10%. And then the other 90%, you know, they're going to get a variety of diversion, non-formal probation, and yes, some will be on formal probation or still get local prison. So Vanessa is on the fence about it, but, you know, she has her position too.
Well, Carla, John, thank you for your frank conversation and hard work. We really appreciate you coming today.
I want to note that I invited 3 elected officials to come talk as the opposition to Carla, and they all opted out.
You gotta love that reputation. I'd like to thank our elected officials for coming. We have John Cregan, our police chief, Damian Conley, Assembly, Samantha Rodriguez, Mayor of Roanoke Park, Ron Edwards, Healdsburg City Councilor, Eduardo Giudice, Roanoke Park City Councilor. Your name gives me trouble every time. We have a great GMM next month. We have Supervisor Gore coming. He's going to address the water challenges of Sonoma County, which, as we can imagine, are significant these days. I'd like to thank all our guests. If you enjoyed your morning here with us, please think of joining. We are a membership organization, and membership is our lifeblood. With that, I just want to say thank you again. Hope you had a wonderful day. Carla, John, fantastic. Really appreciate it.